An essay introduction should be around 150 to 200 words and should meet three basic criteria. 1. Generate interest in the reader's mind. 2. Be relevant to the question that is asked, and it should be concise. There are a few methods that you can use to write effective introductions. First, starting with a story. In this method, you write about a fictitious story which has the essay topic as its underlying theme. For example, if there's a question on healthcare reform in India, you can start with a story with a fictional character from a rural village who is neglected by the PHC, misguided by the private clinic, and fleeced by the local medical store. Such a short story on the topic powerfully brings out the problems of the public health sector. Second method can be about narrating an anecdote where you write about a real life incident or a historical anecdote which is relevant to the question. For example, if there is a question on women empowerment or gender justice, you can start with anecdotes such as one with Nirbhaya episode or PV Sindhu's rise to the top of badminton. Next, third method can be about introducing your essay with a startling fact or a statistic, where you mention a fact that pulls the reader out of their comfort zone and builds curiosity about the topic at hand. A fourth method can be introducing an essay with a series of questions which will act as sequence of topics that you will discuss in your essay. These questions act as thought-provoking tools and engage the attention of the reader. Next, you can also begin your essay with a quote from a famous person which is relevant to the question that is asked. Or at times, you can introduce your essay by providing context or defining the terms that are asked in the question. Generally, in GS, we introduce our answers with such kind of introductions, but in essay, my suggestion is to avoid such kind of introduction because it fails to generate any interest in the examiner's mind if you introduce your essay with GS type of introduction. Next, we come to the thesis statement. A thesis statement is one that captures your stance on a given topic, with the rest of the essay being generally about the evidence and reasoning to persuade the reader of the logic of your claim. You have a choice whether to write a thesis statement or not. If you want to make it clear upfront what you are going to discuss in the rest of your essay, write a thesis statement. My suggestion is to have proper flow and coherence within the essay so as to make the thesis statement unnecessary. Now we move on to the main body of the essay. Main body is all about expanding and describing the topic in detail in a logical sequence. There are a few frameworks that you can use to expand your essay depending on the question. Let us discuss some of those. One can be a temporal framework where you discuss the past, present and future of the particular topic. Consider a question like language problem in India, its past, present and prospects. Now such questions are ideal to be expanded in a temporal perspective where you capture the evolutionary significance of a particular topic and also present a future roadmap. A second way of expanding your main essay body is by elaborating it in various walks of life such as the individual, family, workplace, society, etc. For example, take a question like, with great power comes great responsibility. Now such a question can be elaborated in these various walks of life and you can substantiate with various examples to show that how in various aspects of life, when powerful entities do not act responsibly, we face terrible consequences through abuse of power. That forms your main body. A third way can be a problem and solution approach, where in this method you discuss the concept, its historical evolution, current status, problems and also the solutions that you suggest to overcome those problems. For example, take a question like globalization, economic reforms or judicial activism, which have both positive and negative aspects to it. Such topics are ideal to be expanded in problem and solution approach. Next, there are topics that are asked as questions which are debatable. For instance, should death penalty be abolished, or can capitalism bring inclusive growth? Those questions are ideal for expanding in this mode, where you discuss both pros and cons of that particular topic and end on a note where you take a particular stance along with solutions that you propose to overcome any problems that you have with a particular topic. And lastly, another way of expanding your main body is through a sectoral approach, where you discuss the question across various dimensions such as social, political, economic, historical and administrative perspective along with relevant examples. This is a pretty useful approach for writing, especially the philosophical essay topics. So these are broadly the various frameworks that you can use to expand your main body. Now we move on to the conclusion part of the essay. A conclusion should accomplish two goals. One, give the reader a comprehensive overview of the whole essay, and two, leave a favorable impression on the reader's mind long after he or she finishes reading it. To that end, a conclusion has two segments: one, a conclusion segment, and two, a rhetorical segment. Conclusion segment is a clear, concise summary of the arguments of the essay. It refreshes the mind of the reader and brings a sense of closure to the text. It must also present a vision for the future, presenting the solutions and suggestions that will help solve any issues that you may have raised in the main body. These are all included in the conclusion segment. Then comes the rhetorical segment towards the absolute end of your essay, where the point is to persuade the reader to be convinced about your point of view. There are a few devices that you can use in your rhetorical paragraph to make them persuasive. It can be a poem, a shloka or a quote by a famous person to amplify your position. This will also help bring credibility to your stance and make an emotional connection with the reader to make him or her convinced of your point of view. Another method can be an echo, where, for example, if you had begun your essay with a fictitious story of a character, then you try to end your essay with reference to that character. This recall is called an echo, and it nicely binds the beginning of the essay to the end, giving a sense of unity and coherence to the reader.